everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to be talking about the water element of traditional Chinese medicine, how to identify whether you're blocked within that element, how to unblock, how this can help us going into the winter and identifying all the various different aspects within the water element, and some journaling points as well, or just some points to consider to enable us to be in flow with this water element. I started studying the elements when I started my studies of kinesiology, and I really connected with them because I really liked how they worked in a cycle compared to the Western approach of just being expected to be very linear and expecting us to always be at our best. And if we're feeling over emotional, we're going through some kind of dark depression, then we need to take a pill to have some kind of quick fix within that. And in Chinese medicine, they really recognize that we go through these ebbs and flows, and that darkness of the winter is as important as the vibrancy of the summer. And actually, the more we go within in the winter, the more fruitful our summers, the more there is to harvest within ourselves. And I'm going to put a link to another video I've done below, which is talking about all these elements and how they come together in that cycle. And I'm also going to put a link to my blog where I write about the links between the 5 elements, the seasons, the female menstrual cycle, and the moons as well, because they're all linked. So a couple of years ago, I was feeling completely overwhelmed with some things that were going on in my life, and they weren't even major things, but I just wasn't coping very well. There was just lots of little things going on, and I just couldn't deal with any of them. I didn't know where to start. And a friend told me, you just need to let go of everything, and just, you know, if you get up in the morning and you make yourself some nice breakfast, and you know, you go for a walk and you make yourself some healthy nice food, then you know you can give yourself a pat on the back that day because you've done really well, and just really taking it back to basics. And I felt this huge relief in my body, like, oh, I felt like I had permission to just live this simple life. And she said, and do this whenever you need to. This isn't just for the winter. This element is an energy that we can give ourselves permission to go into whenever we need it. I think that we live in this society nowadays where there's so much pressure on us to do this and to be this, and we are human beings, not human doings, and we're very good at doing, but we're not so good at being. And this element really reminds me of that aspect within ourselves. So water is about flow. It's deep, it's dark, it's quite mysterious. It relates to our subconscious and our dream life. So it's a really good time to start paying attention to our dreams, because this is one of the many ways in which our subconscious communicates to us. And it's sensitive. It's a time for sensitivity and to be withdrawn more than usual. And activities to do during this time can be a really great time to embrace the indoor activities, and more softer, relating to the yin energy, which yin is relating to inward. So things like yoga and tai chi, and just things that are a bit softer on our bodies. The winter is a time for hibernation and reflection, and we are more emotional during this time if we're able to connect in with ourselves. Emotions are actually a great way to unblock energy, and I'm a very emotional person, and gone are the days when I'm apologizing for that part of my identity anymore. We're moving as a world into the new age of Aquarius, a more softer feminine energy, which is very much needed at the moment to pull everything into balance. And expression of emotion, whatever it is really unblocking. So I've written down some journaling points here. So the colour related to this element is blue, which makes sense. So what does the colour blue mean to you at the moment? For me, I've realised that I own almost nothing which is blue. And the colour blue doesn't actually feel all that comforting to me. So this might suggest some kind of blockage here, and I think I'm going to start maybe looking for some more blue clothes next time I go shopping, just to try something new and to embrace something and see if that helps. Am I experiencing lethargy, irritability, or an inability to express? So again, it's about that flow, and is there some kind of block there which needs to be expressed? Expressing can be a great way to unblock stuck energy, and it can also be a great protection as well. Or are you experiencing an inability to slow down and rest? So imbalances mean that there's either too much or too little of something. So am I too lethargic, or have I got too much energy? Do you feel that you have a place to feel safe and burdened, safe and nurtured during this time? I think winter, more than any time, is really the time to give ourselves permission to go inward and just surround ourselves by things that make us feel really comfortable and cozy, and really nurture that inner child. So the climate aspect within the water element is cold. How does this word feel for you? For me, I've always had an aversion to the cold, and last year I actually forced myself to be in a cold country for the first time in a long time during the winter, because I knew that I was trying to avoid doing that. And that was very difficult for me, but I'm proud of myself for getting through that. Do you feel left out in the cold? Is there a situation or a person or a group of people in your life where you feel left out in the cold? So a lot of these journaling points are quite metaphorical, relating to the water element. The odour relating to this is putrid, so this is about decay and death. So are there some things in your life or people which you need to let go of and just be at peace that they've been in your life for some time for the right reasons, and now that friendship or situation or hobby or project or love is no longer nurturing for you? The taste is salt. So if you're really craving salt, or if you really don't like salt, this could indicate some kind of imbalance. Is there anything in your life that needs to be preserved at the moment? And also, what needs to be taken with a pinch of salt? So the emotion related to the water element is around fear and anxiety. If you can just imagine the depths of the sea, they're mysterious, and there's fear within that mystery. What fears do you have related to your goals? So these questions could be related to some kind of project, or it could be related to a relationship, something like that. What are your dreams telling you? What are you worrying too much about? And what potential dangers do you need to pay more attention to? The sound related to the water element is groaning. So what are you complaining about too much? Or maybe what are you not complaining enough about? As I said, actually expressing ourselves in an assertive way and expressing our truth is I find for me is a really powerful form of protection. Okay, this is one of my favourite ones. The faith and worldview within the water element is integrative diversity. So it's about letting go of the old life. What underdeveloped, ignored aspects of the self need to be integrated. So I was thinking about this, and at the moment I really feel like I've been doing so much work on my feminine side at the moment that actually my masculine side has fallen out of balance somewhat, and that's what I'm going to be trying to focus a bit more on now, again for that protection around me. And inner child work is really important during this element more than any other time. And there's various different techniques of inner child work, but I find the completion process by Teal Swan really powerful, and I practice this whenever I get triggered. It's a really powerful tool. This is related to something called complex PTSD, which is instead of perhaps one big event happening, which causes huge trauma to somebody, this is about a series of milder events occurring normally through a childhood of emotional neglect or abuse, which can be compounded by then experiencing being bullied at school. And it puts that person, they experience a flashback whenever there's a trigger, and it can be something so minute, and it takes that person back into their child state, and they feel helpless, and they go, it disturbs their root chakra, and they kind of go into a fight or flight or freeze or fawn mode, and they don't know how to deal with the situation. So this toolbox is really useful for complex PTSD. You take some quiet time and you try to find the memory that's triggered whatever has happened now in the present, and I can normally always find some memory that's related, and you go back to your younger self and you speak with her and you listen to what she needs to express, and you tell her what she needs to hear, and then you take her to your safe space, and then you ask her if she wants to become integrated into your soul. And I find this really powerful for myself. The other aspect within the faith and worldview is that paradoxes and polar opposites are not for solving, but to be accepted. And I think this is really important at the moment because there's so much divide going on and right now. And for me, what's interesting is not necessarily this side or this side, but that there are these two sides which are almost 50-50 in a lot of cases. And it's not necessarily always about picking your side, but just to observe that these polarities exist. And that feels really comforting for me. So the organs related to this element are the bladder and the kidney meridian. So they deal with the liquid of the body, as the name of the element might suggest. So because they deal with the blood and the urine. And the time of the bladder meridian is between 3 and 5 p.m. and the kidney is between 5 and 7 p.m. So if you're experiencing slumps during this time, or feeling particularly sensitive and emotional during these times, that could also be indicative of a block there. If you're also experiencing congestion or neck and back pain, which would be along the bladder meridian, this could also indicate a water imbalance. And a lack of ambition or willpower can signify a kidney imbalance. This meridian also governs the sexual and reproductive organs of the body. So if you're experiencing an imbalance between the yin and yang energies, i.e. the giving and the receiving in sexual energies with your partner, this is also an imbalance. So some other ways to unblock this element and keep it nice and flowing is to be around water, even if that just means taking a bath or listening to even some water sounds, I find can feel really good. To work with the meridians, The bladder meridian, a nice way to work with the bladder meridian is to activate both ends of this meridian. So the bladder meridian starts here, just in between the eye and the nose here, and you want to touch it really softly. And it ends on your little toe at the point just here by the fingernail. But it doesn't matter really if you just put your finger somewhere around it, and with the intention of activating the bladder meridian, this will do the trick. So with one hand to touch, I would use 2 fingers or a thumb because this is a neutral touch. There in the toe and here, and just take a few deep breaths. Keep the touch nice and soft and just feel how that feels in your body. Everyone experiences an unblockage in different ways. For me, it's a sigh or a yawn, and I know that that energy is shifted. The bladder meridian is related to the nervous system. So in times when you're feeling nervous or tense or a bit agitated, or maybe your skin's feeling a bit sensitive, this is a really good little trick that I like to do. And the kidney meridian is relating to the source energy, and it's about grounding, and the kidney meridian also sources a lot of the other meridians. So if you're feeling a bit lethargic, this following exercise can be a really good wake up. So we have the K27s, which are just here on the collarbone, and I usually like to rub these. So again, using 2 fingers and a thumb, so we've got neutral touch there. Just rub these and take a few deep breaths. Intention is also really important. Okay, so diet within the water element is about finding foods that are really going to be warming to the system. So a high carb and protein diet increases the heat. It's normal to add a bit of weight on during this time, during the winter, because perhaps you're not out and about quite as much, but with doing some indoor activities, this should keep it balanced. So casseroles, soups, lots of root vegetables are more readily available during this time. Fruit's not so readily available, and that's okay. Eat in season with baked and steamed foods. Grains such as millet and buckwheat are really good for increasing the heat in the body, and when cooked with some kind of bean or lentil, this is a complete protein. And I like to do sprouting of these as well. Herbs such as cayenne and ginger, and also flax, are really good heaters for the body, and nettles as well, nettle tea. I think one of the most important things to do during the winter to keep our bodies flowing is to embrace all emotions. I think that's what it really comes down to listen to the body, and when these emotions come up, find a quiet place and observe them and ask that inner child what it needs to be given. And the more it feels like it's got that inner parent for itself, the less it will feel the need to react. I think some people would say that when these things, when you're feeling, over emotional and you're losing sense of things, it's the ego coming out, but I prefer to see it as the inner child. It just feels more nurturing and accepting. Yeah, and it is normal to sleep more during this winter period. And a recent study that somebody told me about by the US National Sleep Foundation actually said that instead of, I'm not sure what the people say, 6, 7, 8 hours, that actually more like 7 to 9 hours is more accurate for the amount of sleep that we need, although of course quality is more important than quantity here. So I'm just going to finish by, I'm going to grab my tarot cards and I'm going to see if anything else can come up. Okay, I've chosen 3 cards, and as I was shuffling, what was coming up was it was about compassion for others, which of course has to start with ourselves, but for some it is easier to exercise compassion for others, and that can really manifest when we focus on compassion for others. It can manifest this really warm feeling within ourselves, and that's really important in the winter. I think that's another way to keep warm, is to send out good positive intentions to the people around us and wish them the best, and extend that if you can to the world right now. Like I was saying about these divides that are going on, be part of the movement that mends the gaps between different groups, just by being accepting and grounding within yourself and remembering what's important and the bigger picture here, that we are all connected. Okay, this is the first card that's come up. So I'm using an Osho German tarot deck, and I don't understand the words that are written at the bottom, which I really like because I like to read them intuitively. So, okay, during this season, and particularly during the Christmas season, I think it can, for some of us, be a time when some of us can be triggered by, people that we've lost that aren't going to be here for our Christmas this year, or maybe we're single and we're seeing everybody around us really happy in their relationships, and this is the time to bring the focus back to ourselves. And I read this quote the other day. It said, I said, I promise not to compare my insides with somebody else's outsides. So to remember that we never really know what the reality of people's situations is, and this time is a really good time for my fellow single people to embrace being single. Some of us have never really gone deep into experiencing time by ourselves, and this is a really good time of the year to do this, because it's all about inner work and experiencing more solitude and getting to know ourselves and falling in love with ourselves. Okay, this is the next card. I feel like this is going back to what I was talking about, seeing the bigger picture. It's about rising above everything and seeing the bigger, the beauty at large of what our world has to offer and is offering now and can offer in the future. And I was reminded the other day of a book, I think his name's Don Juan. It's called The Four Agreements. And the first agreement, Don Miguel Ruiz, the first agreement is be impeccable with your word. And it talks about how the word is a spell. So we can use that for black magic, or we can use it for good. And being impeccable with your word is about not judging yourself or others, and realizing that when we say negative things in judgment about others, it will come back to us. And I feel like this card really is asking us to rise above things and to, again, be part of that movement towards unity rather than divide. So this is the last card. Okay, so the The next phase after winter is the spring, and the winter is a really good time for sowing the seeds ready for that next season. And the way to guarantee that we hit the ground running when we go into the spring and we come at the spring from this really powerful force is to deeply root in the winter, to really use this time to get all our energies up and to really just go into whatever we're feeling. If we want to spend the whole weekend on the sofa watching, I don't know, whatever Netflix thing is out at the moment, then do it. If you can, then do it. And don't feel guilty about it, because for sure that will pass. But we're not doing those things in order for them to pass. We're just doing them, and not being hard on ourselves, really. Yeah, that's what I feel like that card is really, yeah, the more we embrace this winter, the more force we will go into in this spring. And I think a lot of things will be clearing this. So for people watching in 2020 right now, I think that a lot of things will be clearing in the spring. Maybe not as much as we'd like, but there is going to be a definite fresh energy coming. So thank you for watching, and yeah, until next time, have a lovely winter everybody, and stay warm and stay safe. Bye.